Hi, my name's Nancy Jean, and I want to welcome you to my garden. And I'm going to explain to you where my garden kind of came from. I've been a card reader since I was a kid. I've read for a long, 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 long time, various different ways for friends, psychic fairs, all kinds of places. Most recently, I was reading in a wine bar every Tuesday night and at a wonderful vintage clothing store called Dolly Python's. The wine bar is called Times 10. It's here in Dallas. And I was loving it and enjoying everything. And then the COVID came. So I had to go home and learn how to Zoom read and do that stuff. And I had people saying, well, you're doing Zoom readings. Go on, go on, go get on YouTube. And I would look at YouTube and I would watch the readers and I totally admire them. But what people want to know about was politics. And I will tell you a story in a minute about why I don't read politics. But so I put off doing it. I was just doing Zoom readings as I could and kind of going along. And I had a dream about 6 weeks ago. And I was standing in front of a large, solid Chicago brick wall, the kind that people had around their gardens and their backyards and in places where I grew up, which was a very Victorian looking neighborhood. And the top was a big piece of limestone that they had across the top and this beautiful red brick. And I realized I'm standing here holding a brush and I'm like, what am I doing here? And I hear a voice behind me and it says, paint the wall. And I went, okay. And it's a dream. You do what they say, right? So I painted the wall. I brushed the brush back and forth across the bricks. And as I painted the wall, the bricks dissolved. And behind it was like a line drawing of a garden, a beautiful, flowery, veggie garden place. And I love gardens. I used to garden when I had space to do it. And I was like, what's this? And they said, it's your garden. It's Nancy Jean's garden. And I said, what paints on this brush, that had tore down bricks? And they said, it's the tears of the last years. And now we're creating a space where you can help people heal and understand and move on. And I continued to paint the wall until it was completely gone and walked into my garden and got very plainly that these voices weren't going to go away. It was actually Addie, my guide. She wasn't going to go away until I decided what I was going to do with this garden. So it's taken me 6 weeks to get the pieces together. And so I'm inviting you now into my garden that I've been carrying around with me for a long, long time. Even as a reader, an individual reader at tables, I tended to get people who were at a crossroads in their life and they needed a kind of an up and down, a yes or no, this or that. But I believe we need to work on a personal level. And that's what I want to do in this garden is work on a personal level. Why don't I do politics? I totally admire the people who are up to their eyeballs in reading politics. I cannot tell you when they talk about walking into that energy is difficult. They are not kidding. That energy is tough. On the night that um, before the person was elected to presidency before Biden, uh, won, I was working the wine bar because I worked there Tuesday nights. So I was always there on election nights. And the staff said, oh, come on, read it, read it, read it. We thought it'd be a shoo-in and now it's this and now it's that. And I said, okay, I'll read it, even then I didn't like to do politics because I used to work in politics and that's another long story. But anyway, I laid out the cards, I did a big reading, and I was so upset by what I saw that I said, I hope I'm wrong. And I gathered that deck up, but it was so difficult that I threw a third of the deck in the dumpster at the wine bar, a third of the deck in the dumpster at a gas station on the way home, and a third of the deck into the dumpster where I lived. And then I didn't get out of bed for 2 days. And my daughter came in and she said, Mom, you got to get up. And she said, what did you see? And I said, I had clear impressions when I left Times 10, but I don't now. And as the last 4 years rolled up, I became aware, actually since COVID came, that I had seen in about 15 minutes in those cards what happened in 4 years. So you can imagine getting a download in 15 minutes of the last 4 years. Win, lose, or draw, the last 4 years have been tough, tough on this country, tough on the world. And COVID being the frosting on that cake of we're all in it. Uh, and so um, I that's why I don't do political questions. But I do questions, and I do things about you and where you are. And I would like you to like, subscribe, and in the comments section, put questions. And I'm going to start answering those questions in the next week as soon as I get a backlog of them. I actually put a feeler out to people I do read and have a few of their questions. And I will be answering those to kind of give you a sample of what I do and hope she'll come along and join me. I also want to put a shout out to Lilac Lantern. I built her a grid. That's another thing I do, and you'll find out I'm going to do a whole show on grids. But I built her a grid, which is a way to take your intentions, align them with the physical energy of crystals, and make a little crystal generator that just kind of hums in the corner and helps keep your intentions moving. And I built one for her, and she said, I want you to come on my show. I want you to explain what this is. I think this is something people need to know about. So that's the other part of what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to be doing cards in my garden. I'm going to be crystals and show you how to grow. But just for you, I'm a real legitimate old card reader. I fell back today when I said I have to pull a card to give them some kind of message other than I'm here. And I went in and found my inner child tarot deck. If you've never seen this, and most people haven't because it was published in 1992. I told you, I've been reading cards for a long time. It's a giant, and the cards are this big. The cards are this big. But what they did is they took the tarot, this couple, and they said it took them over 20 years to do it. And they developed a card based on fairy tales, nursery rhymes, children's stories, children's fiction, children's books. And the card I pulled for us today, I couldn't believe how perfect it was for the starting of this channel, and particularly this. The card I pulled was, he would be the Page of Pentacles, but he is the Child of Crystals. And it's Huck Finn from Tom Sawyer's stories, Mark Twain's beloved character, who is the rebel who turned his back on, quote, civilization and went off meandering down the river. And the conclusion in this, I'm going to read it because it's so perfect for what I'm setting up to do today, and what I want to invite you to understand. When Huck appears for you, let your adventure spirit roam. Hike through the woods, leave the world of civilization for the great outdoors. Paddle your canoe downstream. Ask yourself some hard questions about your personal freedom, your physical gifts, and the sensitivity and skills, and any fears you have about becoming a responsible person within our society. Try to fathom where you are along the meandering river of life. I don't read that well, but I read cards really well. I'm welcoming all the Huck Finns that want to join me on this adventure. I'm inviting you, please. I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe and ask questions, because that's how I'm going to get to know you and how you're going to get to know me. And I really appreciate your watching my very first video, ground floor, here at the beginning. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to hearing from you. Have a good day.